This podcast is made possible by you, the supporters of WPLN and WNXP, Nashville Public Radio.
This is the Nashvillager Podcast. It's May 14th, 2026. On this day in 1948, the State of Israel was established. Leader David Ben-Gurion declared the nation's independence from the British mandate that had been running things there. American President Harry Truman recognized Israel as a nation almost immediately. And from that point on, this country has had a relationship with Israel that has grown increasingly tight. And now some individual states, like Tennessee, go even further to have direct, special relationships with Israel. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with context from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. The history of U.S.-Israeli relations follows a snowball-style timeline. At first, it's the small but important move of Truman recognizing a new state. It takes time for things to pick up and become much more than that. But the closer the nations become, the more actions leaders start taking in support of each other, and the pace just quickens. It's kind of like that on the state level, too. In 1996, then-Governor Don Sundquist entered the state into a cooperative agreement with Israel that was meant to promote education, trade, and cultural exchanges with the nation. Then 11 years ago, Tennessee's General Assembly was the first American state legislature to condemn the concept of boycotts or sanctions against Israel. That grew out of the response to a wave of anti-Semitic activity in the state, including racist vandalism at a Jewish fraternity house on the Vanderbilt campus. The language of that resolution referred to pushes to boycott or divest from investments in Israeli firms as, quote, one of the main vehicles for spreading anti-Semitism and advocating the elimination of the Jewish state. In 2022, the legislature went further. That 2015 resolution only condemned boycotts. The bill passed into law 4 years ago says that any contractor doing more than $250,000 of business with a public entity in Tennessee must include a form certifying that the company does not boycott Israel. That rule covers contracts with local governments, public universities, airport authorities, state agencies, every public institution in Tennessee. Last year, a group of state legislators created the Tennessee Israeli Legislative Caucus. And right away, 60 lawmakers joined in, along with Israel's consul general to the southeastern United States. The stated goal of the caucus is to actively pursue greater cooperation between that nation and our state. Now it has a friends group for business and community leaders that want to align themselves with the legislative effort. A few months after the caucus was organized, Israel-based firearms manufacturer IWI announced plans to relocate its American headquarters to East Tennessee. And in this past legislative session, the General Assembly passed a bill that I talked about on this podcast back when it was introduced, a measure to mandate that any state communications use the name Judea and Samaria to refer to the geographic area that most of the world calls the West Bank. And that brings things all the way back around in 1948 and the immediate reaction to Israel declaring its statehood. Israel's declaration that day flew in the face of a United Nations plan to replace the British mandate with two separate but interconnected states, one for Jews and one for Palestinians. The day after Israel's statehood declaration, several neighboring Arab states took military action against Israel. The nation of Jordan ultimately took control of a portion of the area the UN's plan had designated for the theoretical Palestinian state and called it the West Bank. Israelis continued to use their traditional names for the two historic regions in that area, Judea and Samaria. And to boil it down to an oversimplification, the fight over who is in charge there has been at the heart of the ongoing dispute in the Middle East ever since. Jordan eventually relinquished control, but as you know, if you have paid an iota of attention to international news in recent years, the always tense situation there has been particularly violent and fraught recently. Now, this is a podcast about Nashville and Tennessee. It's not the place to unpack all the ins and outs of a war on the other side of the world. But one very Tennessee aspect to this is that the legislation passed this year in our General Assembly essentially goes the extra mile to signal that this state has gone beyond friendly trade relations to officially picking a side. In just a few minutes, getting back into the dating scene after years of being off the market. That's coming up after the newscast.
Behind every Instagram ad, commercial, or TV trailer that you see, there is a fierce battle going on for what song gets to play in the background. Music Sync is one of the last places where independent artists can still make money, but it is an increasingly crowded field. Meet the Sync Master, Katie Jellin, who's fighting to get their songs placed. She's the subject of our newest episode of Music Citizens. Listen to Music Citizens anywhere you get your podcasts.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. While the Democratic Party and civil rights organizations are fighting to block Tennessee's newly drawn congressional districts, some Democratic candidates are jumping into the race. With the deadline to run in the August primary just a few days away, State Senator London Lamar from Memphis has joined the race for Tennessee's 9th congressional district and will appear on the ballot alongside incumbent Democrat Steve Cohen and State Representative Justin J. Pearson, who had declared his candidacy before the new map was created. Lamar says the decision to split Memphis into 3 districts could backfire on Republicans if more Democratic voters come out in November.
And so I'm ready to fight. I hope my community is ready to fight. And we are going to stop this, but we need everybody to pay attention. We need everybody to register to vote. We need everybody to get involved because they are banking on us to stay dormant.
Pearson is critical of Democrats entering the race at this point, arguing that the party should be banding together and not splitting resources ahead of the midterms. Meanwhile, the 6th district could have a slew of Democratic candidates. That's the one Republican John Rose represents now. Former Nashville Mayor Megan Barry has thrown her hat in the ring. Others are taking initial steps. They include State Representative Vincent Dixie, Metro Councilmember Jacob Coupin, and businessman Darden Copeland. The filing deadline is Friday. The number of electric vehicles in Tennessee has shot up by more than tenfold just between 2019 and 2025. And a coalition called Drive Electric Tennessee is working to expand EV adoption even more. The coalition is made up of the Tennessee Valley Authority, local utilities, a clean energy nonprofit, and the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. Together, they produced a roadmap with goals for increasing the number of electric vehicles on the roads by 2035. By that point, they're aiming to deploy 750,000 battery-powered or plug-in hybrid cars, 1,000 electric buses, and to up the number of EVs in publicly owned fleets. To meet the needs of the growing EV market, the coalition suggests the state improve its infrastructure, too. The report says Tennessee should have 20,000 public charging stations and 2,000 rapid charging stations. The group doesn't directly make policy, but it helps inform and coordinate EV strategy across cities, the state, and industry players. The Office of Homeless Services is the Metro Department on track to get the highest percentage increase in dollars from the general fund this year, up 41%, or $5 million. In a budget hearing this week, however, there were questions for Homeless Services Director April Calvin when she said the agency, quote, doesn't typically carry a caseload. Here's Metro Councilmember Zulfat Swara expressing concern.
Most of your work is done by the partners. It begs the question, why do we need more FTEs rather than just additional more money for the partners that are actually doing the work if our office is not dealing with people directly?
In the hearing, Director Calvin explained that her department's goal is to fill gaps and not replace the work of their nonprofit partners. She says the budget increase is, in part, to keep 15 of the office's 48 permanent employees. Their salaries have been funded by the American Rescue Plan, and those funds are sunsetting at the end of this year. University of Tennessee students could soon be paying about $1,000 more each year for tuition. That's the pitch an advisory board made for out-of-state students. The Knoxville News-Sentinel reports that both in-state and out-of-state students would see an uptick in fees. Those increases would bring in almost $63 million of revenue for research, scholarships, and professor pay. The full board will vote on the budget in late June. In an ideal world, both businesses and consumers are happy about the economy and their potential growth. But that's not the case in Tennessee, according to results from MTSU's latest Tennessee Consumer Outlook Index. WPLN's Seth Thorpe talked to the survey's author about the results.
Currently in Tennessee, it looks like only businesses are able to grow, while residents are cautiously trying to protect what little they have. Dr. Michael Peasley, the director of the Consumer Research Institute at MTSU, said we're experiencing a K-shaped economy where high-income business leaders are thriving, but consumers are struggling.
And so when you have business leaders that are continuing to earn higher wages just naturally by their positions in their jobs. And so that feeds into their optimism. Conversely, consumers have to deal with inflation and all this pricing pressure over time. And so they're much more pessimistic about things.
Despite consumer struggles, the survey found that those who report worse financial situations dropped from 49% to 32%. Dr. Peasley believes that has less to do with conditions improving and more with consumers' acceptance of higher prices.
Yeah, I was honestly surprised that there was even a bump at all in the consumer data, that the positivity went up a little bit, even though we're still in negative levels. Just with everything going on between the war and the economy and gas prices.
When Dr. Peasley and his team started compiling the data, the Iran war had just begun in February. So while he expects consumer pessimism to rise as the war continues, he said Tennesseans are able to be resilient due to the state's job growth, which is higher than the rest of the country. Seth Thorpe, WPLN News.
Work could start as early as this summer on a new pedestrian bridge across the Cumberland River. Oracle is building the structure. It's one of the conditions of the incentive package given to the software company for building a massive campus. The Nashville Business Journal reports documents filed with the state indicate an August start date. Construction will likely take 2 years. Once finished, the pedestrian bridge will connect Germantown and the river's east bank.
You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org.
Dating apps can be daunting for those who haven't been swiping screens since birth. And there are no codes to crack for finding love, online or off. But dating coaches say there are ways to show what you're looking for without spelling out everything. This is Nashville contributing editor Natasha Sonjanovich sat in on a session between a matchmaking coach and her client. Here's an excerpt.
My name is Susan Scott. I'm 59. I've never been married. I haven't really had a lot of relationship experience, and I wasn't doing well when it came to dating. So I thought, why not reach out to a professional and get some professional advice?
Nadine Jimenez Langaña. My company is Matchmaking Nashville. I'm a dating coach and a matchmaker. So Susan, I will start with, this is something that I think has a lot of power when you say like you're fearless, because you are fearless. You always try new things. And I think that's very attractive and that's very confident. This part about to share a fun, balanced life as best friends, it makes guys paint a picture in their mind like, oh yeah, I want to be fun. I want to have a balanced life and I want to spend it with my best friend. I'm just adding a little thing at the end that says, let's meet and see if sparks fly. So this is a very clear signal that you want to meet in person.
I think that's great. I love it.
Now let's go to your causes and communities. You put here feminism, LGBTQ rights, and human rights. That's great because you're being honest and you're being open, but feminism can turn away some guys that might be okay with those causes when they actually learn what they mean to you. But it can be adversarial towards masculinity.
I'll take that into consideration. I love teaching. I love helping people grow, but I'm looking to date.
Mostly good on the pictures. I would still like a professional headshot. My other suggestion is always to have some kind of an activity that shows your character. It's more like show, don't tell. I will add a picture of you actually dancing. You're not dating because your life is not full. You're dating because you want a partner and you want a relationship long term.
Is there a way to refresh that algorithm?
So if you have been there for years, I actually say close completely your profile and start new with another email account and just create it from scratch again. If not, things like changing your pictures, changing your prompts and things like that, the algorithm is going to see you care and you are actively dating, so it's going to reward it. So it's going to bring you more people to match with.
Prior to the dating coach, I don't want to say that I would just be like, oh, I'm just, I want somebody no matter what. But I think I didn't appreciate myself like I should have.
I love hearing that because it's so important and it's so noticeable, just now how you treat yourself as the prize that you are and the catch that you are.
That's from an episode of our series NextAge Season 2, which airs on This Is Nashville through May 21st. The focus is love, body, and belonging as we grow older. You can hear more at thisisnashville.org. And we do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday. Please consider subscribing on your favorite podcasting app. Thanks so much to all of you who've left 5 stars, a thumbs up, or a review in your app of choice. That little bit of love really does tell the algorithms that more people should hear about us. And of course, everything at WPLN News is listener-supported. You can make a donation at WPLN.org. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one. And we'll catch back up tomorrow.